Hey guys, it's me, Halloween Dan, and today I'm doing one of my weird Halloween chat videos. This was actually what I had planned for Wednesday and didn't get around to doing it because I wanted to talk about the alien spider from Distortions instead. But what I actually did have planned for Wednesday was one of my random Halloween chats. Basically, during the off period, I was thinking an awful lot about the many things I love about Halloween. And of course, there are hundreds, so many different things I love about Halloween. Otherwise, I couldn't call myself Halloween Dan. But what I also realised, somewhat shockingly, was that there were things that I didn't really like about Halloween. And I probably shouldn't admit to that, but there actually are some things that I don't really like about Halloween. So, let's just do this. I don't think any of these things on this list are going to be too controversial. I don't think anyone's going to be too upset about what I'm going to say. But I don't know, maybe they will. Maybe they will be a bit like, what, you freak? I don't know. So what I'm going to do, what I thought I'd do, so this wasn't just a negative video full of negative things. I thought I'd do my top 3 least favourite things about Halloween alongside my top 3 most favourite things about Halloween and sort of do one after the other. The reason I'm doing 3 is because there were only 3 things about Halloween I could actually think of that I wasn't that fussed about. So that's why it's 3. Let's just jump straight into this list, and we're going to start with a negative and then move on to a positive so that we end on a positive, I think. So in at number 3, my third least favourite thing about Halloween is the weather. Now, I know I've talked about the weather before, and I know actually there'll be some of you who've been here long enough that will go, hang on a minute, Dan. There was a video a few years back where you literally said how much you love autumn weather and it's one of your things that you love so much about Halloween. And actually, if you and 27 other people who were lucky enough to see that video a couple of years ago actually remember rightly, I didn't actually say I loved that weather at Halloween. I just said I loved autumn weather. Because the caveat to me loving autumn weather is that I love it except for at Halloween. I love the wind and the rain and the sleet and the snow, which is winter, but not yet, but you know what I mean. I love bad weather. I particularly at autumn love the mists and the fogs and the sort of murky, eerie weather you get at that time of year. I'm a big fan, except for in that second half of October. During that second half of October, I kind of want the part of the UK I live in to be uplifted and transported to the Arizona desert, where it would be dry and probably not that windy, and where I could put my display out for as long as I wanted and not really have to worry about it too much. Whereas in the UK, from the second I start putting my things out, I'm in a constant state of anxiety and panic about what exactly the weather's doing. I'm constantly keeping an eye on the weather. I'm constantly monitoring the clouds. I'm looking at which direction clouds are coming from. I'm watching the weather. I'm on my weather app constantly checking up by the hour what the wind speed is and things. It freaks me out. It really, really does. And so for that reason, though I love all the weather you get during the autumn, during that second half of October, it can just go away and leave me alone and come back once Halloween's over. Because that's just how I feel about it. But that's not too bad, right? So now on to my favourites list. And in at number 3, my third most favourite thing about Halloween is the movies. But there's a caveat to this too. Basically, again, my kind of Halloween movies, the things I like to watch, are maybe not everyone's kind of Halloween movies, because I basically like what I like to call wimpy movies. I'm a bit of a wimp, little bit of a scaredy cat, and my favourite kinds of movies at Halloween are basically family friendly. My list consists of things like Hocus Pocus, Nightmare Before Christmas, Ghostbusters, Beetlejuice, all the classics. I also love some slightly scarier movies like Sleepy Hollow and The Others. And basically things that have got a creepier edge. I do like The Exorcist. I enjoy The Exorcist because it's all spooky and creepy and that has its scarier moments. And then I like all the old classic sort of horror movies like Frankenstein's Monster and Dracula and all that kind of stuff, The Mummy. But that's my list of favourite Halloween movies. I had to include it in my favourites because these are my go-tos. Basically, from the end of August onwards, I'll watch these movies through and through, all the way through to Halloween, and it gets me in that Halloweeny mood. If I didn't get to watch at least some of these movies that I've mentioned, I'm not sure it would feel that much like Halloween. So I had to include it in my top 3 list. Now back into the negative, and my second least favourite thing about Halloween. And this is where it becomes a little bit more controversial, and it kind of leads on from what I've just been talking about. Because my second least favourite thing about Halloween is the movies. Because my second least favourite thing about Halloween, the movies I'm talking about, are ironically the movies that most other people, they're their go-tos at Halloween. And it is horror movies. But as I've just said, it's not all horror movies. The movies I don't like, in general, because I'm a wimp, are the slasher movies, the sort of those sorts of movies. The movies where the whole story surrounds a murderer murdering people. And there's blood and there's gore. They're just not my kind of movie. I'm just not into them. I don't enjoy them. I don't understand why other people enjoy them. I get that everyone, each to their own, you can enjoy what you want. But I just don't get it. And then every Halloween, these are the movies that people talk about. These are the movies people push into the main frame. Those characters like Freddy Krueger, Chucky, you've got Jason there from the Friday the 13th movies. They're all the characters that get pushed forward as the representatives of Halloween. Hi, we're from Halloween. And I'm like, you're not my Halloween characters. No, you're not. Back into your box. I get it. If you love horror movies and you're into that whole thing, how these things would relate. But for me, they don't feel like a true representation of Halloween. They don't really even have a link to Halloween. Most of these movies are not set at Halloween. Oh, except for Halloween, of course, which I actually quite like. Funnily enough, of all the slasher movies, I actually quite like the Halloween franchise, at least the very old ones from the 70s. I'm not that fussed on some of the later ones, but I do enjoy them, weirdly. That's because I think they actually relate to Halloween. The others, for me, don't. They're just violent, slightly scary movies that have and that's the connection. I suppose for me it's kind of like, you know, when you love a book, you really love a book and you read that book from front to cover and you love every page and you love all the characters and you think, wow, this is so good. And then some lazy movie studio grabs hold of the book and makes a movie out of it, but they change the characters and they completely leave characters out. And you, the person who loved the book, watches the movie and is disappointed and is like, hang on, this isn't my book. This isn't what I read. You've completely and utterly destroyed it. That's how I feel when it comes to these movies at Halloween. They are pushed forward as the representatives of Halloween. Hey, look, it's Halloween. Let's get Jason out. And I'm like, no, that's not Halloween. It's just a horror movie character. It doesn't mean anything to me. Stop telling me this is how I should celebrate Halloween. And the double-edged sword of this as well is that I get a lot of people coming to me going, Dan, you like Halloween. What's your favourite horror movie? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't really have one because they don't correlate for me. They're not the same thing. I don't know. If that's how you celebrate Halloween, if you love the blood and the gore, the slasher movies, you're entitled to it. Enjoy it. I love that you enjoy it. I just don't. It's just not for me. And personally, I don't get the relationship and why it's so thrust in everyone's faces at Halloween. I kind of get it, but at the same time, I kind of don't. And so for that reason, it's made my list of least favourite things. Back into the positive, and my second most favourite thing about Halloween is so generic. It's so obvious. But I had to include it because without it, it wouldn't be Halloween. And that's the pumpkins, the jack-o'-lanterns. I know this is stupid. I know everyone who is watching this will be like, yeah, no duh, Dan, jack-o'-lanterns. They are Halloween. But that's kind of the point. They are the symbol of Halloween. I absolutely love them. There's something so magical about going and picking a pumpkin and carving a pumpkin and bringing a pumpkin to life just by carving a stupid face into it and putting a little candle in it. There's something kind of almost spiritual about it. I know I've talked about this a bit before, but there's like this kind of weird spiritual side to it. I think when you understand a little bit of the history of Halloween too, you feel like you're doing something that generations of people have done before you. And I think for me, that symbol is even more symbolic in a way and even more special, because when I was growing up, and Halloween just wasn't that big of a thing. Sad time. When I was growing up, the one thing that might differentiate the 31st of October from any other night was the presence of a jack-o'-lantern. You would actually from time to time see jack-o'-lanterns, and it was their presence that denoted that night as different from every other night of the year, which is what for me makes them so special. And I had to include them in my list, as generic and as obvious as they are, because without them my Halloween wouldn't be Halloween. I think there's a lot of things you could take out of Halloween and it would still be Halloween. But I think you take the jack-o'-lanterns away and no longer can you really call it Halloween. I think you'd struggle. So that's why it's in my number 2 spot. Now back to the negatives and my number 1 least favourite thing about Halloween. And I think if you've been with this channel for any length of time, you've probably guessed what it is. Because, my fellow Halloweenies, my least favourite thing about Halloween, it's the clowns. It's the clowns, it's the clown props, it's the clown merchandise, it's the clown haunts, it's the clowns. I'm sorry, I know there's so many of you that love them. I know you love your clowns, and I celebrate your love of the clowns, but I just do not get it. Not one bit. I don't find clowns entertaining on any level. I don't find them funny, I don't find them scary. They can be a little bit creepy, but you can technically make anything creepy if you really want to. So I'm not really sure why clowns have been pursued as they have been. And it's like a vicious circle. It's like, it sometimes feels the more I dislike them, the more clown related stuff you see at Halloween. It's like it's like the universe is going, hey, this guy, he doesn't like clowns. Here's some more clowns. I don't know. I know I'm a hypocrite because I'm the guy who loves witch props. And there are millions of witch props. And I'm sure there's many of you who are like, Dan, we don't need any more witch props. Stop liking witch props. But they for me mean something. They are related to Halloween. I get why we have witches at Halloween, because Halloween is spooky and eerie and about witchcraft and all that kind of stuff, or it's at least involved. That has a link. There's a reason why we have witches and stuff for Halloween. Clowns, they're just clowns. I get that, you know, there's the It movies and the It books from Stephen King, and that clowns can be scary and creepy. I get this link. But at the same time, again, a bit like the horror movie thing, which I've just talked about, I don't see, for me, they're two separate things. Clowns and Halloween are not the same thing. And it sometimes feels like some quite unimaginative people have just gone, hey, clowns are a bit scary. So is Halloween. Smush. And I'm just like, no, don't smush. Don't smush. The only way I can describe how I feel when I see more clown stuff toted out every year is like, imagine for 1 year, no one knew what was coming out of Spirit Halloween, as an example. And you went down to your local Spirit Halloween not knowing what was going to be in there. And you went in there so happy and so excited to see what new stuff there was. And you get in there and there is some cool things. But in amongst all the cool things, there's randomly an Easter Bunny prop, right? And the Easter Bunny's is like a 6-foot prop, and it kind of moves a bit, and it's saying, hello, I'm the Easter Bunny, have an egg, children. And it's a bit creepy, and you're kind of like, yeah, that's a bit creepy and very different. I've never seen that before. Ooh, well done, Spirit. So cool for you. Something different. Not seen that before. Well done. And then you go around the store, and you go and look at some more things, and you see another Easter Bunny prop. This time it's a bit smaller, maybe a different coloured fur, but basically the same thing. And you're like, okay, so So Easter's suddenly a thing. Why is Easter being toted out at Halloween? I don't get the correlation. But okay, it's still okay. I'll take it. Creepy Easter bunny, woo. And then you walk around the store a bit more and there's another Easter bunny. This time it's an Easter bunny with 2 heads. And by the time you leave the store, you're just like, okay, so there were some cool things, but I don't get the Easter bunny thing. I mean, it's kind of creepy and different, but it's still just the Easter bunny. I don't get why that's a Halloween thing. And what's happened is a lot of time and energy has been spent by this particular firm making Easter bunny props, when they could have been spending time and energy making some really cool props that actually related to Halloween. But even worse for you in this scenario is that everyone else loves the Easter bunny props and wants more Easter bunny props, more Easter bunny props. And before you know it, every Halloween haunt that you see, whether it be online or in real life, has an Easter bunny in it. And it makes no sense to you whatsoever, but everyone else loves it. That's how I feel about clowns. They're completely unrelated from Halloween in every single way. They're a little bit creepy, a little bit scary, if you really want to make them that way. But they're just clowns. They're the same thing. Every year more clown props come out and it's the same. It's like, oh, it's a bit like the clown from last year, except this one's got green hair. Oh, this one's got purple hair. Oh, this one's got less makeup than the one from last year. Oh, this one's got a balloon. Oh, this one's got a messed up face. This one's holding ice cream cones. Oh, this one's juggling bananas instead of juggling whatever. It's the same thing, right? They're all the same. Sorry. I'm sorry. I don't get it. And the thing is, I'm sorry, everyone's entitled to celebrate Halloween however they like and with whatever they like. That's the beauty of Halloween. There are no rules. You can do whatever you like. It's for everyone and anyone can celebrate it however they wish. It's just that I don't personally get it. And every year I go looking for new exciting things and it's just like, clown. Oh, and another clown. Oh, and here's another clown. And because I'm not into them, it's just disappointing. That's all. That's it. But if you enjoy your clowns, enjoy them. I just don't enjoy them. And so they're my least favourite thing about Halloween. Now into my positive. We end on a positive note. And that is my most favourite thing about Halloween. And I really had to think about this because there's so much I love about Halloween. It's hard to sort of differentiate sometimes. And I think this thing as well could have been broken down, but I've left it as what it is. Because my number one favourite thing about Halloween is the haunts. Now, I know that's, again, quite obvious. I've got a haunt. I talk about haunts all the time. But, again, growing up in the UK, we didn't really do Halloween when I was a child. You didn't see haunts. They were not a thing. No one decorated even a little bit for Halloween when I was growing up. So getting to see how, when I first started seeing people do decorating for Halloween in the form of a haunt, my mind was absolutely blown. And I loved seeing them and enjoying them. It didn't matter whether it was just the simplest display or the most high-tech display. Every kind of haunt I enjoyed, except for the clowns. We're not going back there. I love haunts. I think that when you see someone's haunt or when people see my haunt, what they're seeing is like a little snippet of that crazy person's imagination explode, whether it be on their front lawn or in their house or in their back garden, whatever it might be. You're seeing this little piece of that person's imagination just brought to life. I know from my haunt, I love getting to see people's reactions, their surprised looks, and just surprising people and scaring people, but also bringing joy and excitement. I love it. I absolutely love it, and I am 100% addicted to it. But I also love seeing other people's. I love it when people local to me actually have taken the time to create something in their garden or something that brings a bit of Halloween to life for other people. I absolutely adore it. And I could have said, my favourite thing is animatronics, or my favourite thing is, graveyard stuff. But it isn't just those elements. It's all the elements brought together. It is the animatronics. It is the static props. It is the graveyard stuff. It is the skeletons and the ghosts and stuff. It's everything all brought together and thrown out onto someone's front garden for everyone else to see and experience and go, wow, this is kind of cool. I like this. I think I'm going to do this myself. That's what I want. I want to, even if only in the tiniest of ways, inspire other people to go, hey, that guy down the street does it. I can do it too. And that's what I'd love. I'd love that 20 or 30 years from now to walk through my hometown and see one fantastic display after another. That's what I'd love to see. And if I can inspire that even just a little bit, my job here is done. Anyway, guys, thank you for joining me on this quite long and quite ridiculous video. I hope I haven't offended anyone or upset anyone with some of the things that I don't like about Halloween. I think you've heard it from me before. I just went a bit more in depth. And once again, guys, thank you for watching. I will see you in the next one. Keep it spooky. Bye.